The city was alive with noise and movement. Tall towers made of shining metal stretched into the sky. Lights blinked from moving airships that hovered above crowded streets. Traders from many worlds gathered here. Some wore armor, some wore robes. Some were wrapped in heavy coats to protect themselves from the heat of the sun. Stalls filled the markets, selling food, machines, weapons, and tools. Voices mixed together, each language sounding strange when layered with others. It was a place of power and wealth. Yet within the shadows of this city lived those who were forgotten. Among them was a child. Her name was Mira. She was small, thin, and no one cared to notice her. Mira could not see the bright towers or the shining ships. Her eyes were cloudy without color and no light touched them. She was blind. At only 8 years old, she had no family left and no one to guide her. Each day she sat near piles of discarded scraps, feeling through the pieces with her small hands. Broken wires, dented metal plates, and cracked glass were all she found. From the scraps, she tried to build small shapes not for profit but for comfort. To others, Mira looked like a beggar. They walked past her without slowing down. Many shook their heads and muttered that she was a waste of space. Some even laughed when they saw her carefully holding broken pieces of trash. Traders looked at her and saw nothing but weakness. To them, a child without sight had no value. But Mira was not useless. Though her eyes could not see, her hands felt more than others imagined. She could sense tiny edges, vibrations, and patterns in the metal. When she touched something, she felt its story. A broken engine coil told her of heat that had run too high. A shattered glass piece told her of pressure it could not hold. Though no one knew, the blind girl had a gift. Her life, however, was not easy. Every morning she woke to the sounds of the market. Her stomach hurt with hunger and her throat was dry. She searched through trash for anything that might fill her belly. Sometimes she found pieces of fruit thrown aside. Sometimes she chewed on hard bread left by careless eaters. Water came from broken pipes or half-empty cups that someone had left behind. This was her daily fight for survival. Mira often wondered why she lived this way. She remembered once having a family. Her parents had been workers in a small repair shop. They fixed broken machines for travelers. She remembered their voices, soft and warm, telling her stories of stars and ships. But one day sickness came. Her parents fell ill and the sickness spread fast. No medicine was found for them. In the end, Mira was left alone. Too young to work, too weak to fight, she wandered until the streets became her home. The city was not kind to children like her. Other street children mocked her. They stole her food when she found any. Some pushed her aside when she tried to rest near warm vents. Mira never fought back. She only sat quietly, holding broken pieces of metal, feeling their shapes until she felt calm again. One afternoon, the market grew busier than usual. A large ship had landed, bringing with it traders from far away. The smell of cooked meat filled the air, mixing with the smoke of machines. Shouts grew louder as buyers and sellers argued over prices. Mira sat near a corner, her hands resting on a pile of discarded scraps. Her stomach twisted with hunger, but no one noticed her small figure in the shadows. She found a piece of thin wire and bent it gently. With care, she shaped it into a small loop, then added a flat piece of metal in the center. In her mind, it was like a tiny star. She smiled faintly as her fingers traced the shape. It gave her peace even while her body felt weak. The day grew long and Mira's head grew heavy from hunger. She rested against the wall, clutching her little creation. People passed by in endless waves, yet no one stopped. To them, she was invisible. As evening came, the lights of the city grew brighter. Ships rose into the sky, leaving trails of fire. Traders packed their goods, closing their stalls. The sound of coins and machines echoed through the streets. Mira curled into herself, ready for another night of cold sleep. But inside her heart, there was still a spark of hope. She did not know why she still believed, but she felt that one day someone would see her, not as a beggar, not as useless, but as something more. For now, she was only a blind child in the shadows, holding broken metal as if it were treasure. The stars above the city could not be seen from where she sat. Yet Mira lifted her face to the sky, blind eyes open as if she could feel their warmth. She whispered softly to herself, promising that she would not give up. The city might ignore her, but she still waited for the day when someone would notice the light hidden within her hands. Night fell fully, and the streets emptied. Silence replaced the market's noise. Mira pulled her thin cloth tighter around herself and tried to sleep. Hunger kept her awake, but exhaustion won. Her small body rested, And in her dreams, she saw stars she had never seen in real life. In those dreams, the stars spoke to her. They told her that she was not trash, not forgotten, not worthless. They told her that her gift would one day be seen. Mira smiled in her sleep, unaware that her life was about to change. Somewhere in the city, a traveler from another world was watching. He had noticed the blind child by the trash piles. Unlike the others, he did not turn away. The city did not yet know it, but the story of a blind girl and a human had just begun. The next morning came with bright light across the metal towers. Ships hummed in the sky while the market returned to life. Merchants opened their stalls, setting out colorful goods, glowing crystals, and boxes of spare parts. Crowds poured in from every direction. For most, this was just another day of trade and noise. But for Mira, it was another day of searching for food among scraps. Her small body shivered in the cool air. She rose from the spot where she had slept and walked slowly with careful steps. Her hands stretched forward to touch the wall so she would not trip. She listened to the footsteps around her, knowing when to step aside as people rushed past. She followed the familiar sound of clattering metal until she reached the place where broken machines were thrown away. There she sat, her thin hands moving carefully through the pile, a piece of bent wire, a cracked screen, a piece of metal plate. To others, these were worthless. To Mira, they were her world. She touched them, tracing every edge. She held each one for a while, then placed it beside her. Soon a small group of strange little shapes surrounded her. That same morning, a human trader named Daniel walked through the streets. He had landed the day before with his crew. His ship carried tools, seeds, and medical supplies to sell in the city. Daniel was tall and wore a simple jacket made for travel. Unlike many traders, he did not shout or boast. He walked with calm eyes, studying the busy market. He liked to see people, to understand them, not only their goods. Daniel passed food stalls, breathing in the warm smell of bread. He moved past groups of armored guards, past children chasing each other. Then he noticed something others ignored. At the corner of the street near the trash piles sat a small figure. She was not moving fast or loud like the rest. She was quiet, touching pieces of scrap with slow hands. Daniel stopped. He saw the girl's cloudy eyes, her thin arms, and her bare feet. She looked fragile, but her fingers moved with focus. He watched her bend a wire into a loop, pressing it with care as if it mattered deeply to her. People walked past without a glance, yet she sat calmly, lost in her work. Something in Daniel's chest tightened. He walked closer. Mira heard the steps. She quickly pulled her small creation to her chest, afraid someone would take it. She turned her face toward the sound, though her blind eyes saw nothing. Daniel crouched down. "Are you hungry?" he asked gently. The girl tilted her head. His voice was soft, not like the sharp tones of merchants. She did not answer, but her empty stomach growled. Daniel opened his bag and took out a piece of bread. He held it toward her. At first, Mira did not reach for it. She had learned that strangers could be cruel. But Daniel did not move away. Slowly, she stretched her hand, touched the bread, and pulled it close. She sniffed it, then took a bite. Warmth spread through her face as she ate. Daniel smiled. "Good," he said. "Eat more. There is plenty." Mira finished the bread quickly. For the first time in many days, her stomach did not hurt. She looked toward the voice. "Why?" she whispered. "Why what?" Daniel asked. "Why give this to me?" Daniel was quiet for a moment. "Because you are here. Because you need it. Because no one should be hungry." Mira held her small creation out with shaking hands. "Then you take this. It is all I have." Daniel looked at the loop of wire and flat piece of metal. It was bent into the shape of a star. Rough, simple, but filled with care. He accepted it gently. "Thank you. It is beautiful." No one had ever called Mira's work beautiful. Her lips trembled. She lowered her head, not knowing what to say. Daniel did not leave. He sat beside her on the ground. The market noise roared around them, but he focused only on the girl. "Why do you collect these pieces?" he asked. Mira ran her fingers along another piece of broken metal. "They are not dead. They still speak. I can feel them." Daniel raised his eyebrows. "Speak?" "Yes, this one broke from heat. This one cracked from pressure. I can tell. They tell me their story when I touch them." Daniel leaned closer. He was a trader who worked with machines, and her words stirred curiosity. "Show me," he said. She picked up a small coil. Her fingers moved over it slowly. This coil burned. Too much fire inside. It could not breathe. Daniel examined it. She was right. He could see the black marks of heat damage. She had no eyes, yet she understood the failure. He offered another piece. A broken screen with a sharp crack. Mira touched it. It broke when something hit from the side. Strong and fast, not from inside. Again, Daniel nodded. She was correct. This blind child was not simply playing. She had a gift. For the first time, someone saw the value hidden in her hands. The day passed and Daniel spent more time near Mira. He asked her to touch different scraps. Each time she explained what had happened to them. He listened, amazed. People around them noticed but only shook their heads. Some whispered, "The human wastes time with a beggar." Others laughed, saying, "He must be bored to sit with a blind child." Daniel ignored them. He saw what they did not. The girl had knowledge that no machine could give. Her sense was sharp beyond reason. As the sun began to fall, Daniel rose. "I must go back to my ship, but I will return tomorrow. Will you be here?" Mira nodded slowly. "I am always here." Daniel placed another piece of bread in her hands. "Then I will see you again." When he left, Mira sat quietly, clutching the bread and the memory of his kind words. For the first time, she did not feel invisible. Someone had seen her. Someone had called her gift real. That night, as she lay down to sleep, her heart felt warm. She whispered softly to herself, "He saw me." And in her dreams, she no longer wandered alone. She dreamed of stars and a ship, carrying her to a place where she was more than a child of trash. The next morning promised more than survival. It promised a meeting that could change her life. For Daniel had decided that he would not let the blind girl fade into shadows. He wanted to know her gift, and more than that, he wanted to protect it. The sun rose again over the metal towers of the city. The air was already warm, filled with the smell of fuel, food, and dust. Ships flew overhead, their engines roaring like giant animals. The market came alive with the usual sounds of traders shouting, buyers arguing, and machines clattering. To most, it was just another busy day. But to Mira, the blind child who lived among scraps, it was different. She waited, her small hands resting on her knees, her cloudy eyes open to the sky, though they saw nothing. She waited because she believed the human would return. Daniel did return. He walked through the crowd with quiet steps, carrying a small bag on his shoulder. His ship was safe. His crew was busy trading supplies, but his mind was focused on the girl he had met. When he reached the corner where she always sat, he found her waiting, her head turning slightly as if listening for his footsteps. "You came back," she said softly. "I told you I would." Daniel replied with a smile. He handed her a piece of warm bread and a cup of clean water. Mira held them tightly, grateful. After she ate, Daniel placed a broken device between them. It was a small power module with wires sticking out. "Can you tell me what is wrong with this?" he asked. Mira touched it carefully. Her fingers slid along the wires over the surface into the cracks. She closed her eyes, though she did not need to. Her fingers moved like she was reading a secret language. After a moment, she said, "The flow inside is blocked. Something heavy is stuck where the power should move. It feels hard, like stone." Daniel opened the module with his tools. Inside, he found a melted piece of material blocking the channel. He looked at Mira in amazement. "You are right." "How did you know?" She shrugged. "It told me. I can feel the weight of it." Daniel leaned closer. "You are very special, Mira. Do you know that?" "No one says that," she whispered. "They say I am nothing." Daniel shook his head firmly. "They are wrong. You have a gift, something I have never seen before." The rest of the day, he brought her more broken parts, old circuits, burnt wires, cracked batteries. Each time she touched them, she told him what had gone wrong. Sometimes her words were simple. "It broke from heat." Other times they were detailed. "This one bent because it was hit again and again." The sound of it still remains inside. Every time Daniel checked her guess, and every time she was right, crowds noticed the strange pair. A human trader sitting with a blind alien child was not common. Some people stopped to stare. A few even mocked them openly. "The human wastes his time," one merchant said with a laugh. "That child knows nothing. He only pities her." Daniel ignored them, but Mira heard. She lowered her head, ashamed. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. "Do not listen to them," he said. "They do not understand." "But I do." Her cloudy eyes lifted toward his voice. "You really believe me?" Yes, Daniel said without hesitation. You are not worthless. You are treasure. Mira's heart trembled at the word. Treasure. She had never been called that before. The next few days followed the same rhythm. Daniel visited her every morning. He brought food and water, then gave her parts to touch. Mira grew stronger from the meals, her cheeks no longer as thin. She grew more confident, speaking longer about what she felt. Daniel listened with care, sometimes writing notes on a small pad. One afternoon, Daniel brought something larger. It was a half-broken communication device. This one is more complex, he said. Tell me what you feel. Mira placed her hands on it. Her fingers moved across every surface, pressing, tracing, listening. She tilted her head, focusing deeply. After a while, she said, This one is tired. Too much talking. The sound inside is cracked. If you give it a new voice here, she tapped a spot with her finger, it will live again. Daniel opened the device and checked. The main sound crystal had indeed broken, exactly where she had pointed. He replaced it with a spare crystal from his bag. The device lit up and worked again. Mira smiled for the first time in a long while. Her small teeth showed, and her cloudy eyes seemed brighter, though they could not see. It speaks again, she said. Yes, Daniel replied warmly. Because of you, news began to spread in whispers. Merchants who had mocked before now grew curious. They heard that the blind child could repair broken things without sight. Some did not believe. Others wanted to see for themselves. A few even approached Daniel, asking if the girl could help them fix items. Daniel refused. He did not want greedy hands to use her gift for profit. But not everyone was kind. Some watched from the shadows, their eyes narrow. A group of thieves who lived off stolen goods heard about Mira. They spoke among themselves. If the blind girl can fix machines, we can sell her skills. The human cannot protect her forever. They began to plan. Mira, unaware of the danger, only felt joy. She had someone who believed in her. For the first time, she was not invisible. She was learning that her touch was more than a strange habit. It was a gift that could bring broken things back to life. One evening, after Daniel packed his bag, Mira held his sleeve. Will you always come back? She asked quietly. Daniel looked at her, then at the crowded city around them. He knew the streets were dangerous. He knew thieves, merchants, and even guards might try to use her, but he also knew he could not abandon her. Yes, he said firmly. I will not leave you. Mira smiled and held out another creation she had shaped from scraps. This one was a small figure with outstretched arms. Then take this, she said. It is you. Daniel accepted it with care. Thank you, Mira. I will keep it always. The market lights dimmed as the sun set. The city roared with noise, but inside the quiet corner where a human and a blind child sat together, something new had been born. A bond, a trust, a promise. Yet far away in the dark alleys, the thieves sharpened their plans. The girl who could touch and know the truth of broken things was no longer invisible. She was noticed. She was wanted, and soon danger would come for her. The city never truly slept. Even at night, the towers glowed with lights and ships continued to land and rise from the great platform in the center. But the market grew quieter when darkness covered the streets. Fewer merchants called out, fewer guards walked their posts, and more shadows filled the corners. It was in these shadows that danger grew. Mira did not know it, but a group of thieves had begun to follow her. They had heard the whispers of her gift. They had watched her sit with Daniel and touch broken machines. They had seen devices come back to life after her small fingers traced their surface. To the thieves, Mira was not a child in need. She was a tool, a way to gain wealth and power. One evening, when Daniel was walking her back to the spot where she usually rested, he felt eyes on them. His instincts, sharpened from years of travel, told him they were being watched. He placed a hand on Mira's shoulder. Stay close, he whispered. Mira tilted her head. I feel it too. The air is heavy. Daniel scanned the narrow streets. Figures moved quickly, then vanished. He knew they would not wait long before striking. He tightened his grip on his small toolkit. He was not a fighter, but he would not let harm come to the child. The attack came suddenly. 3 men stepped out from an alley, blocking the path ahead. 2 more came from behind. Their eyes gleamed with greed. One of them, taller than the rest, smiled coldly. The human cares for a blind beggar, he said. How strange. Hand her over. She belongs to us now. Mira trembled and gripped Daniel's jacket. Daniel stood firm. She is not yours. Move aside, the tall thief laughed. You cannot fight us all. Give her up and we may let you walk away. Daniel's voice hardened. I will never give her to you. The thieves lunged forward. Daniel pulled Mira behind him. He swung his toolkit, striking one thief's arm. The man yelped, but another grabbed Daniel's shoulder and shoved him back. Mira fell to the ground, her hands scraping against stone. She cried out but quickly reached for the scraps nearby, desperate to find anything to help. Daniel fought as best he could. He blocked punches, pushed back kicks, and held his ground. But he was outnumbered. A blow struck his side, making him stagger. The tall thief reached for Mira, grabbing her arm. She struggled, her small hands clawing at his grip, but he lifted her easily. Let me go, she cried. Daniel forced himself forward, tackling the thief. Both men crashed to the ground. Mira slipped free, crawling away. Daniel rose quickly and shoved the thief back. His chest burned, but his eyes stayed sharp. Run, Mira, he shouted, but Mira did not run. She reached for a broken metal pipe lying nearby. Her fingers moved fast, twisting a wire around one end. She remembered Daniel's words. She was not worthless. She was treasure. She could fight in her own way. The thieves closed in again. Before they could strike, Mira slammed the pipe against the ground. Sparks flew as the wire scraped metal. The sudden flash startled the men, making them step back. Daniel seized the moment and struck one with his fist. Another tried to grab him, but Daniel dodged. The tall thief cursed. She is more trouble than she looks. Take them both. But before they could move, a loud horn echoed through the street. Guards from the market had heard the fight. Their lights cut through the shadows. The thieves, unwilling to face the guards, fled into the alleys, shouting threats as they vanished. Daniel dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Mira crawled to him, her hands touching his arm. Are you hurt? She asked. I will live, Daniel said, forcing a smile. But we cannot stay here. It is not safe anymore. He lifted her gently. Mira held onto his neck, trembling but relieved. Where will we go? My ship, Daniel answered. You will be safe there. The guards approached, but Daniel did not wait to explain. He hurried through the streets carrying Mira. His ship waited at the landing platform, tall and silver, with lights glowing along its sides. The crew greeted him with surprise when he arrived, but he quickly told them what happened. Without question, they agreed Mira could stay aboard. For the first time in her life, Mira stepped into a starship. She reached out, touching the smooth walls, the humming panels, the gentle vibration under her feet. It feels alive, she whispered. It is, Daniel said with a nod. And maybe you can hear it better than any of us. He guided her to the control room. The wide window showed the stars outside, though Mira could not see them. She placed her hands on the navigation console. Her fingers moved slowly across the surface. Then she froze. There is something wrong, she said. Daniel blinked. Wrong? What do you mean? Her fingers traced the edges. The ship is tired. The heart of it beats unevenly. If you go far, it will break. Daniel's eyes widened. He checked the console. At first, nothing seemed wrong, but then he ran a deeper scan. His heart skipped a beat. She was right. A hidden fault was growing inside the engine's core. If they had flown far, it could have caused disaster. The crew gathered, astonished. How could she know? One whispered. Daniel looked at Mira with respect. Because she listens in a way we cannot. He repaired the fault before it grew worse. Mira stayed beside him, guiding his hands. When the repair was finished, the ship's hum grew steady and calm. Mira smiled faintly. Now it breathes easy. From that moment, Mira was no longer just a child Daniel had found in the shadows. She was part of the crew. She was someone whose gift could save lives. Days passed. Mira explored the ship with her hands, learning each hallway, each panel, each room. The crew began to trust her. They asked her to check machines, and she always found the hidden problems before they grew dangerous. She was blind, but she saw more than anyone else. Daniel watched her grow stronger. He remembered the first day he had seen her, sitting by the trash piles, unseen by the world. Now she stood in the heart of a starship, guiding it with her touch. Pride filled his chest. He knew he had made the right choice, but he also knew danger was not gone. The thieves had failed once, but they would not forget. They had seen the girl's gift, and they would want it again. Daniel swore silently that he would protect her no matter what came. One evening, as the ship drifted among the stars, Mira sat by the window. She could not see the lights outside, but she felt the quiet hum of space. She turned to Daniel. Why did you save me? She asked softly. Daniel thought for a moment. Because I saw you when no one else did. Because you are not trash. You are treasure. Mira smiled, her cloudy eyes shining with warmth. For the first time, she believed his words. She was not invisible. She was not nothing. She was someone who mattered. And though danger still waited beyond the stars, Mira was no longer afraid. She had a place, a family, and a gift that made her more than anyone had ever believed. The stars outside the ship were quiet and endless. Mira sat in the control room, her small hands resting on the smooth panels. Though she could not see, she felt every vibration, every pulse of the ship. Her gift had grown stronger with every day she spent aboard. The ship no longer seemed just a machine. It felt like a living being that trusted her touch. Daniel watched her from across the room. He remembered the first day he had met her among the trash piles in the crowded city. Then she had been small, fragile, invisible to everyone. Now she was confident, and the crew depended on her. Yet he knew the world outside could still be cruel. People who did not understand her might try to take her or use her or judge her. The decision weighed heavily on him. He could keep her on the ship, but she deserved more. She deserved a place where she could learn, grow, and be safe without fear of thieves or strangers. But how could he give her that when most people might not see her value as he did? The next day, Daniel contacted the authorities on Earth. He explained Mira's situation, her blindness, her gift, and her strength. He spoke of how she had saved the ship and helped the crew even without sight. The voice on the other end was curious at first, then astonished. They promised to send a team to meet her. When the Earth delegation arrived, Mira waited on the ship, her fingers tracing the walls she knew so well. The humans on the platform looked at her with surprise. A blind alien child, small and quiet, who had already accomplished things they had never imagined. They listened as Daniel explained how she could feel the inner workings of machines, how she could detect problems no one else could. A woman stepped forward, holding a small notebook. "We want to help her," she said. "She is extraordinary. We want her to have a home, a school, and friends. We want her to know that her gift is a treasure." Mira's fingers tightened. A home, friends, a school. Words she had never imagined as hers. She tilted her head, listening carefully to the voices. "Really?" she whispered. "Yes," the woman replied. "We can take care of you. We will protect you. You will never be alone again." Daniel knelt beside Mira. "Do you want to go with them?" he asked gently. Mira thought for a moment. She had known survival, hunger, and fear. But she also knew kindness, trust, and hope. Slowly, she nodded. "Yes," she said. "I want to see what they will show me." The journey from the city to Earth was long. Mira explored the ship along the way. She learned the hum of every engine, the shape of every hallway, and the vibrations of each room. She taught herself to navigate without touching anything she did not need. The crew grew to love her, and she became part of their family. When the ship landed on Earth, the atmosphere was different. The air was clean and soft. The ground beneath her small feet felt solid and comforting. Daniel guided her to a waiting vehicle. Mira touched the seats, the walls, the gentle hum of the engines. Everything was new and strange, but she felt safe. The Earth team led her to a place called a human sanctuary. It was a large building filled with children, teachers, and helpers. There were small rooms with beds, tables, and machines that hummed quietly. Mira's hands explored each surface, learning the new shapes. She could not see the faces of those around her, but she could sense their attention, their kindness. A teacher knelt beside her. "Hello, Mira, we are happy to meet you. You are safe here." Mira's fingers trembled slightly. "Safe?" she asked. "Yes," the teacher replied. "You will have food, friends, and a place to learn. You will never be alone." For the first time in her life, Mira felt that her future was not uncertain. She was more than a child surviving in the streets. She was a child who had been noticed, appreciated, and protected. Days turned into weeks. Mira learned to navigate the sanctuary. She learned the different shapes of books, the sounds of each classroom, and the voices of the children. She touched musical instruments and discovered the vibration of sound. She touched computers and felt the hum of energy. Each day she grew stronger and more confident. Daniel visited often. He watched her laugh with others, her fingers guiding her through games and learning exercises. He remembered her first steps on his ship, her quiet confidence among the hum of machines. Now she was stepping into a world of care and opportunity. One day, Mira touched a small device that measured vibrations. She held it in her hands and felt the pulse of its inner workings. "It is broken," she said softly. The teacher looked at her with surprise. Can you feel that? Yes, Mira replied. It tells me it cannot move freely. It is tired. The teacher smiled and nodded. Then you will help us fix it. Mira worked with Daniel and the sanctuary staff. With her guidance, they repaired the device. When it worked again, the sound it made was pure and steady. Mira felt proud. For the first time, her gift was recognized openly. She was not a beggar. She was not invisible. She was someone whose hands could bring life to machines and help people. The sanctuary became her home. She had friends, other children who played games she could feel and hear. She had teachers who guided her learning. She had people who believed in her, just as Daniel had. Daniel watched from a distance as Mira helped a group of children with a small broken machine. She guided their hands, showing them how to feel the shapes, how to understand the vibrations. They listened carefully, amazed that such small hands could teach them so much. The city she had once walked through, the trash piles where she had scavenged, seemed far away. Yet Mira remembered them. She remembered hunger, fear, and loneliness, and she remembered the human who had seen her, the first person who had called her a treasure. One evening, Mira sat with Daniel. I never thought anyone would see me, she whispered. Daniel smiled. I did, and now so has the world. You are a treasure, Mira. Not because of what you can do, but because of who you are. Mira's hands rested on his arm. Do you really think I can help others? Daniel nodded firmly. Yes, you already have. You will continue to. You will teach people to see what others ignore, to value those they might overlook. That is the true gift of humanity. Mira felt warmth in her chest. She could not see the stars from inside the sanctuary, but she could feel them in her heart. Her life had changed from a child collecting trash for survival to a child guiding others, teaching them to value life even when it seemed small or fragile. And though she was blind, Mira had never seen more clearly. She had been given a home, a future, and the knowledge that she mattered. She had become living proof that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to care, to notice, and to give value to those the world often ignored. In the quiet of her room that night, Mira held a small star she had made from wires and scraps. It reminded her of the first day Daniel had called her a treasure. She whispered softly, I am seen. I am safe. I am me. And somewhere beyond the walls of the sanctuary, the stars outside shone brighter, as if celebrating the child who had once wandered in darkness and had finally found her light.